Hey everyone, this is Mushfiq from the website flip.com. I'm going to talk about how I conduct due diligence when I buy websites. Now, due diligence is one of the most critical aspects. If you don't do it right, you risk significant losses. I mean, your website can essentially die overnight if proper due diligence wasn't done and some shady tactics were used. So, I'm going to show you my tactics on how to find red flags and what I look for. So, let's get started. So again, why is it important? There's a few reasons. When you go to a brokerage, Flippa, marketplaces, wherever you find your deals, your websites for sale, they only do basic vetting. And some marketplaces are just like eBay, where they're listing sites at a seller's discretion. So there is no vetting. And so it's on you to do your due diligence, just like you do any due diligence when you buy anything expensive, stocks, real estate, etc. The other thing is traffic and revenue numbers can be manipulated. It's very easy these days to add backlinks to manipulate rankings. Manipulate authority, domain authority. It's very easy to buy traffic. It's very easy to fake screenshots. So you need to know how to catch those. Sellers are. It's not in their best interest to disclose any red flags. Now, good sellers do disclose because they want repeat buyers. They want to have a good, they want to feel good about themselves, sleep well at night, but that's not the case for everybody. So you need to be able to catch red flags. And then also Google's webmaster guidelines, Google search guidelines are changing very regularly. And there might be something that used to work in the past that does not anymore. And you need to be up to date on that. So those are the four main reasons. And now, why is it important? Because look, you're putting your hard-earned money into these assets. You're buying them. So what the last thing you want is a website you buy and then within a month, let's say, it crashes. So here are three examples of sites that were listed on a brokerage marketplace, and then you can see the tank. So this is Ahrefs graphs. So most likely, the seller listed the listings during the run up. Buyers bought it, and then maybe due to some nefarious backlinks or just low quality content, or even sometimes even the buyers don't even touch the site. So there could be that's also a factor. You can see the site crashed, traffic goes to zero. And then here is a listing prices. So one was 76,000, 417,000, 102,000. So you can see if you don't catch some red flags, or sometimes it's the buyer's fault as well, right? They buy sites and they let them sit. So it's both sides, but mostly when you're a buyer going into a brokerage marketplace, you need to understand how to do due diligence to catch these red flags. So what's the framework? I have a 6-step framework that I've developed. I reviewed these 6 main aspects. First is the domain, second niche, third traffic, content backlinks, number 4, 5 revenues and expenses, and then what's the source of monetization. So these 6 all combined, if you can essentially do a sniff test, a test that do these all pass, then you can be more assured that this site is clear and can be acquired. So let's go one at a time. Domain. I'm looking for brandability. Today, in today's environment, it's very important to have a brandable domain that you can expand. I don't want to buy sites where like blenderreview.com, right? I want to buy something that's like something generic, more generic about home or kitchen, branded domain. Um, History of the content. This is important. Archive.org is a tool you can use. It's free. You can plug any URL in there, and hopefully they have snapshots of what the site looked like in the past. And you can understand what type of content was on that domain in the past. This is very important for what's called topical relevancy. You don't want to buy a domain that was once, let's say, a kitchen site, and all of a sudden this domain now becomes a pet site. That, from Google's perspective, is a slight red flag, and you just don't want that. Domain age. How long has this domain been used? The longer, the better. The longer a site is alive and has the same type of content, the better. So that's a pretty big factor. Now, that doesn't mean a 6-month-old site isn't quality. It just means that it hasn't been through a lot of these Google updates, and so it's less valuable in my opinion. What about trademarks? So no trademarks. You can't have, for example, Nike in your domain name, Disney in your domain name. You have to have a generic domain name that does not um, uh, impeach on any trademarks that are in the US or abroad. So those are the 4 things about domains. What about the niche, right? Again, we're buying niche websites. These are niche specific websites. So it's really important to understand how to evaluate a niche. So one, I look for profitability and affiliate opportunities. This is important. Mostly we monetize our sites with display ads, affiliate revenues, um, digital products, maybe consultancy, maybe some services, right? These few aspects, these few tactics. Now you have to understand, is this niche profitable? For example, a law niche, medical niche is significantly more profitable than, for example, home or kitchen, right? There's just two different intents, two different audiences. And there's probably more high paying revenue opportunities in the law and medical niche. So that's how you have to understand these. What's the interest in this niche? Is it a niche that is a hobby based niche? Like, for example, people, you know, do it as a side hobby, like DIY crafts, brewing, these kind of things. Is it that, or is it a one-time niche? You're buying something once and never returning. Obviously, we want the former, which is DIY crafts, hobby fitness. These things where it's a life aspect. It's part of your life. But that doesn't mean the former, which is one time, can't make money. Obviously, they are. It's just there's two different ways to evaluate, and you have to understand which one you're getting into. Are there a lot of low competition keywords? Look, in reality, it's hard to compete with the big guys, right? Forbes, CNN, Wirecutter. They're going after really, really tough keywords, and it can take a significant effort and time to compete with them. So we need to start on low competition keywords and work ourselves up. And if this niche you're in, like let's say law, there's less low competition keywords in that niche than there is, for example, in dogs or pets or kitchen, home, for example. Next is affordability. Again, of writers, right? You have to hire writers or write your content yourself. Now, if you're targeting a very high competition niche where you need niche experts, for example, medical experts to write content, they're going to be significantly, sometimes 5 times more expensive than a niche where anybody can write. Let's say pet niche, romance niche, dating niche. These niches, you don't really need medical experts or niche subject experts. You just need somebody who can write well and understands the topic. What's the long term trend popularity of the niche? Years ago, fidget spinners came out. Broker marketplaces had a lot of fidget spinner content sites, e-commerce sites, but that faded, right? Nobody talks about fidget spinners anymore. So you have to understand the popularity of the niche, the trend of the niche as well. Traffic. Now, when I look at a site's traffic, right, I can get access to Google Analytics, I can get screenshots, I can look at Google Search Console, I can get access to all these first party networks. I can also use Ahrefs, SEMrush, which are third party data platforms where I can plug in a URL and see what the traffic looks like. Here are the criteria that I follow. I don't want to see any one page have more than 15% of traffic, 15% of page views, because if that 15% of page views is tied to revenue in the same, let's say, manner, let's more than 15. So, for example, if a site gets 15% page views, usually it's making a lot of money. It's making maybe 30% of the total revenues, right? For example. So, all of a sudden, if Google decides that page is going to lose rankings because it doesn't meet the competition, you just lost revenue overnight, right? So, but if your pages are diversified, maybe 3%, 5% each, roughly, it doesn't matter, or it's less impact if one page gets hit significantly. I'm looking for time on page more than a minute. Now, time on page is a metric, very important metric. How many minutes, seconds are people staying on your site? And so the higher that is, the more quality content, essentially, people are reading it, and it's a good signal to Google. So higher time on page, the better. I'm looking for bounce rates less than 90%. Now, on affiliate sites, bounce rate is going to be high. That's the goal, right? You're bringing somebody onto your site, giving them the information they need so they can click through. And so anything higher than a 90%, it can be seen as an easy win, which you can buy that site and improve it so that it's less than 90%. This is not a major red flag. It's just a metric I follow. Now, I'm an SEO specialist, so number 4 is important to me. I'm looking for sites with organic traffic, right? organic traffic is the most valuable, highest intent traffic, and it's something I can improve on by doing SEO. If it had a lot of social traffic, I'm not an expert in social, so it's hard for me to focus on that. But it just depends on what your expertise are. So make sure you find sites that fit your traffic criteria. And then also, this is also personal. I like to find sites that are US, UK, Canada, tier one countries, Europe. That's the highest value traffic, the highest intent traffic. So that's what I like to focus on. So there's different trends, right? So first, when you're looking at a traffic curve, you have to understand if it's stable, uptrending, downtrending over time. So I'm going to give you some examples of what that means. So stable traffic, it's self-explanatory. Your traffic is flatlined over time, right? It's important to analyze it over time, not just on like a 30-day period or a 7-day period, but what is it has been over like 1 year or all the full history of the site. You can find this in Ahrefs, you can find this in Google Analytics, Google Search Console. Every platform like that has first party data of the site will have a trend like this. Now, what does uptrend look like, right? So on the first figure, you see here a site that has a history of getting hit by an algorithm update, stabilizing for many months, and then slowly uptrending, right? Though this is very, very common, and it's not a red flag. You just have to understand that when a site goes down, it can be due to an algorithm update, competition coming into the market, so pushing that site down in the search engine rankings, and you have to understand which one that is. But then if a site stabilizes and starts to uptrend, then that means there's this possibility that this site can recover. Then on the bottom figure, you see exponential growth curve like that. And there's plenty of niche sites that do that. Every site starts like that, right? It's going to go on an uptrend at some point. And these can be very interesting acquisitions because you are paying on the past performance. So the past performance when the site was going up, and you are paying a multiple valuation on based on this uptrend. But when you buy the site, the month after, you're going to be earning much more. The traffic is going to be up there, right? Hopefully. And so you can recoup your money faster. And so I love buying uptrending sites because I can get them cheap and I can capitalize on the future potential of that site. Downtrending, you'll see these a lot on marketplaces for sale, different Facebook groups with that sell niche sites. This is a downtrending curve where it was doing great, and all of a sudden you see the downtrend, and there is no recovery process. I mean, there's no recovery happening in the traffic trend, so that's a significant amount of effort to fix. There are people who like to focus on these sites because you can buy these on pennies on the dollar. And if you have a system in place to recover these sites, you can really recoup your money. But this is not for the faint of heart, not for a beginner. So definitely look out for this and just skip these deals. So another category I look at is content. You can, this is more of a personal thing, so you have to read the content, understand if you're okay with it. There's a good grammar, is there a good sentence structure, is it original content, is it plagiarized? You can use tools to check that. Is it well researched, or is it just run-of-the-mill typical content you find on every site, right? And if none of this fit, it's okay. If this getting traffic, that means they're targeting the right keywords and the right SEO. And if you have the patience and the team, you can perform the optimizations to make that content better, right? So that will hopefully increase the traffic as well over time. So this is again personal, and how much effort you want to put in. Links, so backlinks. I'm very critical of this. I look for any red flag backlinks and I just walk away. So if there's private blog networks, PBN links that I find, if there's spammy international links like Chinese, Russian, if there's adult casino links, if there's aggressive keyword anchor text. For example, people build links, nothing wrong with it, but they might over optimize. Let's say they're trying to rank for a best blender in 2023. They're going to go to a link vendor and say, I need 10 backlinks with the anchor text best blender. And then they get those links. And it's really, really obvious what the seller was trying to do here, to manipulate and essentially point a lot of high authority links to this specific buying guide with an anchor text that's so obvious. You should diversify your anchor text if you're going to buy links, right? But if you don't, it's a red flag. And then are they buying links, purchase links, right? There's nothing wrong with purchasing, but if you're doing it in mass, it's very clear because all these marketplaces have the same backlinks. Sorry, the same sites. They're just reselling them. So it's very obvious after a while, after you're doing due diligence, which sites show up often. Often you can kind of tell that this seller used this marketplace. Um, Again, it's okay. It's all about diversification. It's okay to have a few links. It's okay if the seller used a PBN at one point, but then they did more white hat tactics. So if they have 5 PBN links, but they have 200 very high quality authority links, that's okay. It's all about the percentage of diversification here, right? And it's up to you. So if I see sites with some Chinese links, Russian links, it's not their fault. It could be that that's the spam bots that are picking it up and linking. And if it's diversified, where there's hundreds of good links and a few of those, that's completely okay. So keep that in mind. Next, I look at the revenue and expenses. Now, this is easy to review. Usually, sellers provide a P&L. They also provide screenshots. They can also provide access to the back end of the affiliate network or display ad network or whatever service they're using to make money. Are there any huge dips in revenue? Right, a dip in revenue is something that's not a red flag. It could be that if a dip happened in 1 month, but then it recovered, it could just be bad conversion rates, or it could be the affiliate network shut down. So you have to really dig deep and figure out why that's the case. But if you just see a dip in revenue and never recovers, that's a huge red flag, and you have to dig deeper. I also ask for videos of the Amazon associate earnings. If you're buying an Amazon site, Amazon affiliate site, you should ask for videos showcasing the affiliate earnings as well. What's a normal conversion rate? So when clicks are going through, your affiliate network is saying, what's your conversion rate? Right? If your conversion rate is 70%, that's pretty high. Typically affiliate Amazon is about 5 to 10% range. Third party affiliates, more e-commerce where you're sending traffic, could be a couple percent. So it's not going to be drastic, the high. So you can sort of look at the screenshots, look at the data, and catch any of those red flags. I also look for any temporary revenue. This is a lot of sellers do this prior to them selling. Maybe a few months prior, they start accepting sponsored posts to hope that they can pad the earnings and increase it. And then, a sponsored post is essentially somebody buying a backlink on the website and getting paid for it. And I don't like sponsored posts. I am okay with buying sites with sponsored posts, but I disregard that revenue stream completely because one, it's not passive, and two, it actually takes away from the authority of your site over time if you do a lot of them. So, but I disregard that revenue stream from the P&L completely and do a recalculation of the sale price without that revenue stream. Another thing sellers miss a lot is operating costs. The basic ones are hosting fees. That's cheap enough for most sites, for most WordPress sites. So that's negligible. And you can use shared hosting, put multiple sites on a server. So it's not a big deal. The other one is domain fees. But there could be other software fees that they're not including, right? That's mandatory. Affiliate tracking software. Are they including, if a service, if there's a VA involved and they're doing a lot of maybe outreach or something that's bringing in revenue, essentially anything that's tied to revenue that has manpower attached to it or software needs to be accounted for. So don't make sure to ask these questions on minimum operating costs. The next thing is monetization. What I'm looking for is more diversification, which is if you have a site with local traffic, let's say you lawn care services in XYZ city state, and you are selling the leads that you're getting to a local company, it's okay, but you have to understand that if you lose that local company, your site does not make any money, right? That's why I like to use networks, display ad networks or lead generation networks, where if one person doesn't buy the lead, there's another buyer ready, right? Otherwise, if you buy the site and the company stops working with you, you have to now go and source another company to buy the leads, which is just time consuming. Once you buy a site, if it's display ads, will it qualify for the same display ad network, right? One thing to note is like Mediavine is a very popular display ad network. Every time the site is sold, they reevaluate the site, whether it qualifies for their network again. So this is something a lot of buyers don't know, is that there is a qualification process that needs to happen again. And sometimes Mediavine rejects the site, right? So that's something to pay attention to. Um, Three, are there any special affiliate rates that were negotiated? Um, this is really important because as affiliate marketers, we try to negotiate with the brands to give us higher payouts, higher commissions, higher percentages, higher CPAs, cost per action, one-time payments, essentially. And that you have to make sure that as the buyer, if the seller did that, that's actually good, but that relationship passes through, that affiliate account goes through, or the terms could continue for you as the new buyer. Another thing is a custom rate card. So Amazon has a custom rate card, Amazon Associates, where some big publishers get 8% commissions, whereas normal people get a couple percent. And so in those situations, once you sell the site, if you don't have a custom rate card as a buyer, you just drop your revenue just drops. So it's very important when you do due diligence is to ask these questions, ask for screenshots to verify what is the commission that this seller is getting. So all in all, those are the main aspects that I look at, the six main due diligence aspects. And once you look at this, you can kind of look at a site and see, okay, does this pass all of these? And then dig deeper on the ones that it doesn't pass. And over time, with practice, you'll catch it. You'll catch the red flags. You'll find weaknesses. You'll find the strengths pretty quickly. So for more details, I have a detailed due diligence guys, 4,000 words where I have written everything. There'll be a link in the description, but it's also on the video right here. I share more insights, I share more results, and you should check that one out. Now, due diligence is hard. We found this, right? And there's a lot of things you might miss as a first time buyer, or even seasoned buyers miss a lot of things. I miss things as well. But that's why I started webacquisition.com, which is a team of due diligence experts that reviews a site. So you can hire us, our M&A advisors, to look at a site that you want to buy. We will generate a 20-page custom report just for you, looking at every aspect of a content site. And it's not just done by one person, it's reviewed by a couple people so that you get multiple eyes on the deal and multiple perspectives. So this is a service that I'm offering at webacquisition.com. There'll be a link below. Definitely check that out. And our due diligence team is made up of real experts. It's me. We have content investors. We have former people that worked at brokerages on our team, who they have reviewed hundreds of deals. And so they really know what's involved in the due diligence process, in the listing process on a brokerage. So definitely check out Web Acquisition. And that wraps up our guide to conducting due diligence when you go and buy a site. Again, it's a long process, but it's a process that you need to understand. And the best way to do this is just to sign up for the broker listings, broker newsletters, and every time they send out a deal, start doing your due diligence, start looking at the numbers, start looking at the data, start looking at the site and understanding if you can catch some red flags or what's a good site versus what a bad site is. All right, thanks for watching this video. I hope it was valuable.